So welcome back to another sector rotation video. We do this every week just to see exactly where money might actually be moving, right? Where is the sectors actually rotating within the S&P 500 and within the actual market? But before we jump into, my favorite sector rotation chart, I first want to actually go over, where we are from a broader index perspective. And for that, we're going to jump into the SPY, we're going to jump into the QQQ, and we're going to jump into the Dow, which is the DIA, and just kind of give us a baseline of where things actually are, right? Because we are making all-time highs. And it's a good thing to sometimes just take a step back and kind of reflect on where we actually are and how that actually impacts the sector rotations that we're actually going to be looking at. So with that, let's jump into the charts. Okay, so first on our list is SPY, right? I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so we can actually have a little bit more drawing space here and see exactly what's actually happening on the SPY itself. Now, SPY has recently made an all-time high, right? The new all-time high is 779.37. And as you can see, there's been quite a momentous move up. Some consolidation that's actually happened, and we've just broken out of that consolidation zone, right? So as I mentioned, the level that I'm actually watching is the top of this consolidation box, right? Does SPY pull back into this consolidation area right here? And then if it does it actually break down and look something like this, right? First and foremostly, and then does it step down and do something like that to maybe the 20? That's a possibility, right? This is why the 776 level is so important for us to actually watch next week. It could either do a breakdown of this specific level. This is the good above, bad below type of level, right? Or do we actually see something like this play out, where you actually have it stair-stepping, looking something like this, to all-time new highs, right? Now, there's a couple other things that is quite interesting to actually note here. The relative momentum strength has kind of flattened out here, and you can actually see that as it relates to your candle structure that has printed over the past couple of days. We can also see that the RSI is almost at your 70%, but your momentum on your MACD is still actually opening up, right? You actually still have the gap between your fast and your slow momentum indicators on your MACD actually opening up here, specifically on SPY. Okay, so that's where we are on SPY. Let's take a look at where we are from a QQQ perspective. So taking a look at Qs, I'm just going to make the chart a little bit bigger so we can actually see what we're actually looking at here. Now, Qs has not made a new all-time high, but it's pretty close, right? We've also had this upward momentum that has taken place, and then we've also had a consolidation that's actually happened roughly around there. And I'm going to draw that in a box just so we can actually see it a little bit better. Now, my good above, bad below number for the Qs here is 727.50. Again, this is the top of the consolidation box. Does Qs do something like this? Does it pull back to your 227.50 and then continue in its upward trajectory, something that looks like that, right? That's risk to reward, essentially. Or do we actually have a breakdown come this week that looks something like this, fails back into this consolidation box? And once it gets to the bottom of this consolidation box range, do we actually have something like this that actually closes this gap that we actually had right over here? Okay, so that's just context to where we are from the Qs as well as where we are from SPY. Now, the next one that I wanted to jump into is DIA, which is something that I trade pretty much every day. And again, just blowing this up, you can see that DIA's had quite a momentous run here, right? We've had quite a steep upward trajectory with quite a lot of gap and goes in here. Actually, 2 days where there's actually been literally gaps within the actual price action overnight. And what's actually happened here is we've pulled back into this kind of a flag pennant area. Now, my good above, bad below number to watch for DIA is your 535, which is this number right here, right? Does the 535 number actually hold from a upward momentum perspective? In which case, your price action could look something like this, right? Something like this. Maybe the following day we're looking at something like this, and then the following day we're probably looking at new all-time highs. Now, again, this doesn't have to happen in 3 days, but I'm just kind of giving you a possibility of what outcomes could possibly be for the next trading week, right? Given the fact that there is the FOMC meeting notes that's actually coming out on Wednesday, so that is definitely going to be one that's actually going to move the market. We are going to get a good above or good below, I think, in some way, shape, or form this week. Now, the bad below scenario is under that 535 number, something that actually looks like this, right? So risk to reward, maybe closing the first gap. Again, risk to reward closing the second gap, and maybe risk to reward looking at, coming back up to meeting the 50, right? Something like that. That's kind of the scenarios that I see from a broader index perspective. Okay, so now that we've looked at all of the indexes, let's jump into my favorite chart, which is, just a percentile of the sector rotation. And this will give us a good idea of where the sectors has actually landed over the past week. What is the percentage up? What is the percentage down? Who's leading? Who's not leading? And this is going to give us a good idea of where to actually focus our attention, what to actually pay attention to, and also maybe if we do have some equities that falls into a sector that might actually be lagging, we might actually want to think about, is that the right time to actually dollar cost average on those specific equities, right? Now, if you are new to the channel and this is the first time that you're actually watching our sector rotations on a weekly basis, what does this chart actually represent, right? Well, this is a line chart and it represents some of the largest sectors within the S&P 500, right? We've got XLK, XLF, XLI, XLV, XLE. We've got some of the themed ETFs, MAGs, SMH, DRAM, etc. And we're actually plotting them up against the prior week's percentage change. So let's take a look at what's leading this week. DRAM is leading this week and it's up a whopping 14.6%. Next, following that is energy. Energy is up a whopping 4.73% this week. Then we are talking about XLU. XLC is not too bad actually this week either. It's up roughly about 1.5%. And then we've also got the semiconductors, which has also come to life this week. And the semis are up roughly about 1.64%. Now, there are a couple of laggards here, specifically the MAGs. Now, the MAGs has had an amazing week the week prior, right? And that was because of earnings. Google was up, Amazon was up, Apple was up, Meta was up, and there was one more, Amazon was up as well. Massive gap ups on earnings, and it has given back some of that specific gains over the past week, and we'll see it when we actually get into some of the charts. So with that, let's take a look at the actual, sectors and how they are actually performing up to date and what we can glean from them, right? So as per normal, let's start with the ones that's actually leading, right? We are looking at DRAM here, and DRAM has kind of broken out of this consolidation box that has been in for a couple of weeks. Now, again, this chart is not great because it looks like broken teeth, right? It's there's gap ups all over the place. But I think one of the notable pieces to note here is that it has basically broken out of the consolidation box above 54.85-ish number, right? And you can see that it's actually been up for a second day in a row, even though the candle is actually red. Okay, so let's dive into the individual equities that actually makes up this specific themed ETF, right? DRAM. And there are a couple of key components that actually makes up DRAM. MU is one of them, and you can see how MU has actually broken out of this consolidation base that has been in as well, right? It's had 3 up days. Essentially, you're looking at that 900 level. If it can actually stay above this 900 level, and I think we are looking good, it might actually do a bit of a pullback, right? It might actually do something that actually looks like this, right? You might actually have this pullback to 900 before we actually, continue in the upward direction. What has become quite evident with regards to this chart is that we've had lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. And if it did pull back, this could possibly be a higher low right here as well. So that's MU. And you'll find the same kind of pattern for all of the DRAM underlying. Now, again, this is WDC, which is Western Digital. If it can maintain this 500 level and stay above, then I think we are possibly looking for further upside. And the same thing for Seagate Technologies as well, right? If you take a look at this chart, literally holding your 915 level, looked above, came out of this consolidation zone, broke out of this consolidation zone, right? And if it can actually manage to maintain over your 915 area, I think you actually have room for further upside here. What I am expecting here on Seagate is a little bit of a pullback, right? probably not getting back to your 915 unless something completely nefarious actually happens within the market next week, unless we actually have a FOMC meeting notes that comes out that says, well, they're going to be raising interest rates pretty soon in September. You'll see everything basically come down. But if it is steady state, you can expect this to pull back to possibly just above the 900 mark, and then continue moving upwards, putting in another higher low, so to speak. Okay, so that is DRAM covered. Let's take a look at the energy sector and where we are from an energy perspective. For that, we're going to be looking at XLE. Let me just bring up XLE's chart. And again, looking pretty positive here, right? What are we seeing here? We're seeing a consolidation, a 3-day consolidation breakout. It's above your previous pivot high of roughly about $61 essentially. And again, if things stays as status quo, then you can expect a little bit of a pullback and then, further momentum to the upside essentially. What's actually looking great in this chart as well is that you've got the fast and slow moving averages on your MACD actually widening up, right? That means that there's more momentum coming into the actual sector. We can see that we are still moving upward from a relative momentum perspective, right? As well as our RSI is not yet overbought, so to speak. So with that said, let's take a look if there's any good, setups specifically for the underlying equities that actually makes up the XLE sector. Now, given the backdrop of knowing that XLE has been up this week, will it continue next week? There's quite a couple of different underlyings that might tell a little bit of a different picture, right? Now, yeah, we can actually see that Scorpio Tankers has basically reached an inflection point. Now, the probability here is you look above, come back, fail, test this level, and continue upwards, or we'd have a test this level and then basically pull back into your consolidation range, right? And you'll see that this is a theme that kind of repeats itself in the tickets that we're going to go through today. Let's take a look at MPC. Again, all-time highs here, right? I wouldn't be chasing this at all. I'd basically be looking for a pullback here. Vallejo, again, same thing, right? Had a breakout of this consolidation range here, but has now made all-time highs. As a buyer, I don't want to buy this at the tippy tops. I'm going to be looking for a pullback in some way, shape, or form. Does it come back to the 319 area? Possibly, possibly not, right? But I wouldn't buy this at this specific time. Same thing here with WMB. Again, has broken out of the consolidation zone. Expecting a pullback that looks something like this before we actually, see any further upward momentum on specifically WMB. Taking a look at CVX. CVX, same thing, right? We've actually had a break of the consolidation box here. Are we going to be continuing upward momentum, or is this a look above and fail? Again, your possibilities here is similar to everything else that we spoke about. Your good above, bad below number is 198.44. We're either doing something like that, or we are doing something that actually looks like this back into your consolidation range, right? XOM, same thing with ExxonMobil, right? We're right in the top of the consolidation box. Are we going to be looking at something that actually looks something like this? Or do we actually, look below, fail, that 160 becomes resistance, and we basically fall back into this consolidation range? Now, I think the momentum of these energy stocks has got a lot to do with, the Strait of Hormuz. Is it open? Is it not open? Is there a deal being, put on the table? Is there no deal being put on the table? And it's been so up and down essentially. And this is exactly why you see such a lot of volatility, specifically within within the energy stocks, so to speak. Okay, I'm just going to run through a couple more and just do commentary on that as we go through this. What else? Shell, exactly the same thing, also within consolidation. APA, again, wouldn't touch this chart, wouldn't know where it's going to go. Oxy was one that you wanted to get involved in over here. And you can see all of the gaps that it has left because of all of the volatility within this specific sector. Okay, so let's jump back into our actual sectors graph and take a look at what else is actually trending here. Well, XLU has actually been up over this week, and XLC has also been up this week, and SMH has been up this week. So let's just cover all three of those quickly. We'll do XLU first and just take a look at the broader XLU chart and see if there's anything that is interesting to actually glean from this. Okay, so here we're on the XLU chart, and for me, this is just a balanced range again, right? If I look at this, I basically see this type of balance. I see a double bottom that's actually happened here, and I'm seeing a bounce that actually has occurred. However, we are literally slap bang in the middle of this range, and therefore, for me, I wouldn't want to touch this at the moment, right? I just don't know which way this is actually going to go. We might actually have a pullback off this that looks something like that, right? Or we might actually get something that does something like this. And for me, I normally just don't fiddle with anything that is kind of in the middle of a balanced range like this. I like to play the edges. I'm either playing it here or I'm playing it on top here. So for me, XLU is not something that I'm going to be too interested in. Okay, so let's clear that up and then go and take a look at XLC. So XLC is looking a lot more constructive here. Again, we had this, bit of a consolidation over the flag. And let me just make this chart a little bit bigger so we can actually see exactly what we're talking about here, because there's a couple of interesting pieces to actually, just kind of run through. Again, this consolidation zone that we pointed out earlier, just roughly around about here. We've just broken out. We're above the 100. We are just coming up to the 200 SMA. Expect some resistance here, right? Expect some resistance at this specific point, roughly about the 114. We've got a $2, run to go to actually get there, but we are still seeing good relative momentum. There is good strength from a MACD perspective, and we are above the 50 percentile, specifically with regards to our RSI. Now, we can also see that our 20 is actually curling up. I'm quietly confident that we are actually going to see a little bit more upside, specifically with communication services. If we take a look at the underlines for communication services, let me just get rid of this and just take a look at what they actually look like. This is why we're seeing this uptick in communication services, right? Even though it hasn't been as strong as DRAM or energy, Fox Corp has broken out of its consolidation zone over here and basically had two massively up days, right? We are looking at Netflix as well. We spoke about Netflix a couple of weeks ago. When we were talking about Netflix, it was actually under the 75 level. These markings are still here from that specific recording. Go back 2 weeks, take a look at the recording, and you'll see exactly what we were talking about here. We were waiting for it to get to the 75 and then basically do a good above, bad below. It has been a good above. And we've actually dollar cost averaged here again. And this is also looking pretty good. You'll see that the same thing has actually happened with Disney as well. Again, quite a lot of upward momentum with Warner Brothers as well. Disney, same thing, right? Above your consolidation zone. I'm possibly looking for a little bit of a pullback here before continuing higher. VZ as well. This is also a really good looking chart above a consolidation stack for months at the end of the day. Hopefully we get back up to this 52 area. We also own VZ at a dollar cost average of roughly about $40, right? So we're quite in the money on that one. And you can see the same, there's a theme here with regards to the communication services. Google, unfortunately, has given back a lot of its gain over the past week. And this was due to some key staff actually leaving. But you can see that it's actually found a base, started consolidating, and hopefully we get back up to your 555 level. And then we're probably looking at further upside once you actually reclaim your 50, once you reclaim your 100, something that looks like this. That will probably be what your trajectory will probably look like for Google if there is continued upward momentum. Relative strength is pretty weak, actually. It's trending down. Your RSI is pretty flat, and your MACD is also not going anywhere. So in just looking at these indicators, we are probably looking at something that looks more like this over a time period from a digestion perspective before we actually see, that happen. When I look at this, Google will probably be ranging for a while if I take a look at some of the additional indicators from a confluence perspective. So we're going to do one more sector for this specific week, and that is going to be looking at your SMH, right? Because how could you not? Let me just blow this up quickly. And SMA is also looking pretty constructive. We've got a bit of a consolidation actually happening here. Uptrend, consolidation, made a base of it. Also has a good above, a bad below inflection point here of roughly about 580, right? So if it gets above your 50 and it does something like this, right, we are in for additional upside momentum. If it does come down next week and it basically does a look below, fail, comes back and tests that 580 level, then we're probably looking at a additional downward momentum until it actually, kind of hits the 100 SMA for a bounce to the upside, right? Okay, so lastly, let's just take a look if there's any strength in the actual underlyings for SMH. And the underlyings for SMH is going to be, your usual suspects, your MUs, your AMDs, your NVIDIAs, your Intels. I think there's a couple of them that actually looks pretty decent. We've already covered MU. Again, AMD, again, also has a good above, bad below. Look at your 500 level, right? Your 500 price point. Good above would look something like this, right? Pull back, upward momentum. Bad below, again, above. That's kind of, your possible trajectories here for AMD. What else is noteworthy here? Intel above your 100. This is quite interesting as well because Intel has actually maintained above 100 for the past 3 days. If it does come back down, test the 100, maybe something like that, right? We are looking for additional upward momentum. We are currently above the 100 and we are above the 20 moving SMA. Would be great to actually see this get above your 50 SMA, something that looks like this, right? For further upside for Intel. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap it up there with Intel for the week. So just to recap, let's take a look at the actual sector rotations again. You had DRAM leading the pack here at 14.6%. We've got energy that's up, utilities is up, XLC is up, H is up as well, which is going to bode well for both the Nasdaq as well as for the S&P 500. Healthcare is pretty much flat at the moment, which is going to be negative specifically for the Dow because there's quite a lot of Dow-centric heavy-weighted stocks that's actually in there. Your MAGS is also lagging at the moment, which is going to be a drag on the S&P 500 as well as on the Dow, because the Dow also includes NVIDIA at the moment. It includes Microsoft. It also includes Google, right? So those three are going to pull down the Dow quite considerably, which is DIA, which is what I trade. And then, of course, your retail sector is lagging at the moment, but that doesn't add too much to the actual equation when it comes to moving the markets. Okay, so if you enjoy analysis like this and it gives you some additional trading ideas for moving forward for the week, then don't forget to like the video and also then come and join our Wealth Circle, because in the Wealth Circle, we also, give our Wealth Circle members specific signals for opportune times to dollar cost average or opportune times to actually sell. We are also tracking a $1 million portfolio within there to see whether these signals were actually positive or if they were negative. We also do a dividend deep dive every single week, and we cover a specific, dividend stock to see whether it's actually worthwhile for you to actually purchase that specific stock, hold for a long time, and then what the opportunity is for selling covered calls against that specific equity to make weekly income. And we show you how to do all of this within the Wealth Circle. And so with that, I will see you in our next sector rotation video next week, every single Sunday.